Hi everyone, this video is a book review about a book that I saw several years ago, and it's been waiting on my reading list for that period of time. It is one of my favorite books that I've read so far, featuring one of my favorite illustrators. And the title of this book is called The Blacker the Berry, and it's poems by Joyce Carol Thomas, illustrated by Floyd Cooper. Now, as I said, I have had this book on my reading list for several years. I first saw it when I worked at the bookstore, and I remember reading it and looking at the beautiful imagery, and I knew this book was a classic. I knew I had to have it in my collection, no matter how long it took to buy it. It was also one of the books that I would recommend to customers all of the time, and they loved it too. Anytime I see a book illustrated by Floyd Cooper, I just buy it. I just know it's going to be good. But yeah, so in this book, I'm going to discuss with you all of the beautiful poems and all of the beautiful artwork that are featured in here. I'm also going to incorporate some of my experiences with colorism, as well as some of the experiences I've witnessed in regards to colorism, and just talk about the beauty of our various skin tones in the Black community. But before I get into all of that, let me tell you a little bit about the book, the author, and the illustrator. So this book was published in 2008, so it is about, I want to say like 15 years old or so, and it still is a great classic. The author, Joyce Carol Thomas, she wrote a lot of books. Some of them I've seen, some of them I had never heard of before. So we're going to go to Google and look up her bio, because the book has an outdated bio since she has died. She died in 2016, I believe, and she was born in 1938. So let's see, Joyce Carol Thomas. This is according to Wikipedia. So it says, Joyce Carol Thomas, May 25th, 1938 to August 13th, 2016, was an African-American poet, playwright, motivational speaker, and author of more than 30 children's books. Thomas was born in Ponca City, Oklahoma, the fifth of 9 children in a family of cotton pickers. In 1948, they moved to Tracy, California to pick vegetables. She learned Spanish from Mexican migrant workers and earned a BA in Spanish from San Jose State University. She took night classes and education at Stanford University while raising 4 children, and received the master's degree in 1967. So some of her literary rewards include a National Book Award for children's fiction for her 1982 novel Marked by Fire. She also won an American Book Award for it. She was one of 3 finalists for the Coretta Scott King Award 3 times. And she also was recognized as the most distinguished portrayal of African American experience in literature or children's for children or teens. Yeah. Oh, that's describing the King Award. She also received a New York Times Outstanding Book of the Year Award and an Outstanding Woman of the 20th Century Award. She resided in Berkeley, California, and she died August 13th, 2016 at 78. So she lived a good long life. Now, when I'm on here looking at some of the books that she's written, I realize that I've actually read some of these books. So I have The Blacker the Berry. I've read that. There's Brown Honey and Broomwheat Tea. I've read that. In the Land of Milk and Honey. I have heard of a land. I feel like I've come across that book, but I don't know when. And it looks like she's used Floyd Cooper as her illustrator for maybe 2 or 3 of her books. There's also a book here that I think I may have had as a child, and it was called Hush Songs, African American Lullabies, but I don't know if, I don't know if it just had some of her poems in it. There was another book that she was in. Then there's also Lies and Other Tall Tales by Zora Neale Hurston. Yeah, so she was a very distinguished author, and it's great that she lived a long life, but it's kind of sad that she's not here with us anymore, continuing to write her beautiful work. The next person I'm going to tell you about is Floyd Cooper. And when I say this broke my heart in two, when I went to go look up his bio and I found out he died last year, I was actually shocked. I was shocked. I didn't know he had died. He was one of the illustrators I hoped to meet one day. He was one of the illustrators I hoped I could get to his level. But it says, Floyd Cooper, January 8th, 1956 to July 15th, 2021, has been honored with 4 Coretta Scott King Awards, 10 ALA Notables, and many more for his illustrations by the Coretta Scott King Award. Born and raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma, he received a degree in fine arts from the University of Oklahoma. In 1984, Cooper came to New York City to pursue a career as an illustrator of books, and he now lives in Easton, Pennsylvania with his family. And if you go to his website, there is no website because it's gone, because he's died. I was so disappointed. So young, but you know how that goes. So I'm reading this article, and in this article it says 44 books by Floyd Cooper. Some of them, actually most of them, he's illustrated. So I'm just going to read out loud to you the titles of the books that I've read that he's illustrated. A Beach Tale, Sisters and Champions. I think we reviewed that. It's Sisters and Champions, a story of Venus and Serena Williams. The Ring Bearer, Frederick Douglass, The Lion Who Wrote History. That book was excellent. A Spy Called James. Juneteenth for Maisie. These Hands. A Dance Like Starlight. Max and the Tagalong Moon. Brick by Brick. Oh, that book was really good. Ruth and the Green Book. Back of the Bus. Becoming Billie Holiday. Jump. From the Life of Michael Jordan. Freedom School, yes. I think I read I Have Heard of a Land. Meet Denitra Brown. My Dear's Aprons. Brown Honey and a Broomwheat Tea. How Sweet the Sound. Such a tragedy. Such a freaking tragedy. So, thank you also, Floyd Cooper, for sharing your work with the world. Both of you guys were so talented. Joyce Carol Thomas, and Floyd Cooper, just a combo to be reckoned with. And so we're going to honor them tonight by going over their beautiful work and getting into a deep discussion about colorism, the beauty of skin tone, and just sharing personal stories. And if you have your own personal story about like skin tone or colorism or anything, just put it in the comments below. I'd love to hear about it. So it starts off with, I guess, the opening to the book. Now, how this book is laid out is most of the people in this book are children. Every so often you might see an adult or two, but the main characters in this book are children, and they're all different shades of brown. You have dark brown to like white, almost white. Now, what I really enjoyed is even if you had like 5 dark-skinned children, she would go into the subtle details of their shade. There's also a theme of berries, foods that are sweet, foods that are creamy and can be ingested like desserts. And it goes like this. Colors without black couldn't sparkle quite so bright. And it has this beautiful little boy, and he's holding some berries. I don't know if they're blueberries or raspberries or blackberries. I don't know which one it is. But look at the details on these berries. I think this might be a chalk pastel. Like, that's what it looks like, but I'm really not sure what Floyd used. And it doesn't say in the front, but I just enjoy the detail of it. Let's see. A little subtle light on his fingers and the berries and his teeth. The next poem is called What Shade is Human? And that's a good question to start off with, because sometimes we'll get so fixated on this shade and color, and we will, I guess, what do you call it? Umbrella? Place people under just this umbrella. It's like you're this way and you're that way and that's it. Instead of seeing the person as they are and the subtleties of their shade and the subtleties of their beauty, like we don't take the time to admire them because we place everybody under this umbrella. Dark skin, oh, they're that way. Light skin, oh, they're that way. Oh, they're this, oh, all right, whatever. It's just very sad. So it says, what shade is human? And it has a little girl, and she's eating some cereal, and it looks like some strawberries. I think there's some strawberries or raspberries. At breakfast, I pour milk all over my bowl of berries. And Grandpa says, it's the milk of kindness that makes us human. I'm trying to sound like Grandpa. Yes, Papa, I answer. And he continues, white milk, chocolate milk, sweet milk, mother's milk. I nod between bites of berries because my mother long ago, when she nursed me with first milk, said, you are beautiful, and I heard her. I really like that. I really like that poem. There's so much said in this one poem, for real. Because it says, it's the milk of kindness that makes us human. And that is true. Because a baby might starve, or most likely will starve, if they don't get their mother's milk or get some type of breast milk. Like, that is their first meal. Even in traditional Chinese medicine, they say, like, breast milk is the milk of life. There was even a story I read, I cannot remember. It was an older lady. She was elderly and she had no teeth. And she couldn't eat anything in this traditional Chinese medical story. So her daughter or her daughter-in-law nursed her, and the woman's teeth grew back. Like, milk is nourishing to the soul. I think that's why in this life we like sweet things, or we like things that are kind of scented like our mother's milk, because we're always trying to go back to the mother or back to the source of life in some way, shape, or form. Then it says, when she nursed me with first milk, she said, "You are beautiful," and I heard her. When you're nursing a child, that's creating a bond. You're passing memories through your milk, or so they say. Because you're growing the child in your womb. What you're thinking, your thoughts are affecting the child's development. The foods you're eating are affecting the child's development. Even if you're nursing a child, if you're taking herbs, if you're taking certain herbs that can pass through the breast milk and do something to the child. That's why they say, like, if you want to wean your child off of nursing, you can take like sage, kelp, parsley. If you take too many cleansing herbs, it can hurt the baby's stomach. It's too harsh. So when it says I heard her, she did hear her, because the mother is a closeness. The mother, it also helps the mother when she's like losing, I guess, her baby weight, helping her body heal, bringing the right immunity. So I can't remember, like bringing immunity or helping the child's immune system with her nurse milk or her breast milk. And another thing that I've said is sometimes you can pass emotions through the milk. So a couple of years ago, I was reading about Black women who were enslaved that would be nursing their enslavers' children. And it made me think of like the relationship between those children and the wet nurse. They probably had a closer bond with the nurse or the enslaved woman nursing them than their own mother. And maybe their hatred later on in their life for their mother came from the woman that was nursing them, because she hated the woman that's enslaving her. Like, that's how strong milk is. That's how strong the bond is. And it also created a type of strange confusion, because it's like, you nursed me, you nourished me, you gave me the milk of life, your cells are in my body, but I don't. It's just very confusing. You have a very strange toxic bond with this person, if that makes any sense. The next poem is called The Blacker the Berry, and it has one of my favorite illustrations in here. This girl is so beautiful. She's so cute. I hope I have a daughter that looks just like her. I swear to God, she's so beautiful. She actually reminds me of my younger cousin, Kirsten. Even though she doesn't look like Kirsten, her personality reminds me of when Kirsten was a child. Like, that's what I see when I look at this picture. It's probably why it's one of my favorites. But it says, the blacker the berry. The blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. I am midnight and berries. I call the silver stars at dusk. By moonrise they appear, and we turn berries into nectar. Because I am dark, the moon and stars shine brighter. Because berries are dark, the juice is sweeter. Day couldn't dawn without the night. Colors without black couldn't sparkle quite so bright. The blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. I am midnight and berries. I didn't even notice the stars until I read the poem. because I was so fixated on how beautiful she looked. Like, I need this as a poster. I just do. I don't know how I'm gonna make it into a poster, but I need one. And what's interesting about this poem is I had actually read a book called The Blacker the Berry, but I feel like it was a very old book. It may have been written at the turn of the century, but I'm actually not sure. This was also the first time that I've seen The Blacker the Berry used in relation to children. Because most of the time I've seen it used, it's always been used in a sensual way, or it's always representing something phallic, you know. But the author switched it, and she gave its innocence back to it and its beauty. So when you look at it, you don't think of those things. You don't think of something sensual. You don't think of some like phallic symbol. You just think of the beauty of this poem, which shows that she is a wordsmith. Okay, hold on. The Blacker the Berry. It's a novel by Wallace Thurman. I knew I read it. The Blacker the Berry. Wallace Thurman. It was published in 1929. The novel tells the story of Emma Lou Morgan, a young woman with dark skin. There was also another book. There were actually two books I was reading in relation to skin tone, and they were both by Nella Larson. One was called Passing, which they made a movie about, and I'm just like, girl, what? Like, these are the actresses you choose? And another one was called, hold on. She had another book that I read. It was Passing, and I'll find it later. And Quicksand. Yeah. Then, this one, Raspberry Black. And this goes to the example I was talking about earlier, where they'll just give a shade and then they'll give a shade within a shade. Like shades you never even thought of, they put in this book. And this one's called Raspberry Black. I love raspberries. It has a little boy. He's sitting. He's reading with his little shoes. I have been busy reading my great-great-grandmother's journal. How she loved the red earth. How she loved her pioneer woman life. How she loved her Seminole Indian husband. How her children were African Native American, the color of black, dipped in red. My mother says I am red raspberries stirred into blackberries. Like the raspberries, I will always be here. Like the blackberries, I was here from the first seed. I stay busy reading my great-great-grandmother's journal. I am African Native American. I am raspberry black. I don't know what color I would be like. Maybe I'm raspberry black. I don't know. What do you think? My skin tone changes with the seasons, of course. In the winter, I'm going to be maybe a shade or two lighter. In the summer, I'm like a shade or two darker because I'm always outside. But I like my skin tone. I really don't have a problem with it. I've had other people make an anomaly. Is that the right word? An anomaly out of it. Just based off of their own personal colorism problem. But I do find myself in this book. And I also like how she mentioned the union of the indigenous Americans with like Africans as well. Even though, depending on who you ask, they say the indigenous Americans were African. So maybe you're just meeting yourself again. Another one, Golden Goodness. And it has a little girl. She like golden brown. And she has, it looks like reddish golden hair. She's so cute. Look at her hair and her flowers. It says, "Daddy, tell me this. Is yellow a good color?" He says, "Go down yonder by the huckleberry bush, then come on back up here and tell me what you see." I mosey out to the fruit vines and pick the last basket of huckleberries. Then I notice the bronze on the summer leaves turning to autumn. The bronze leaves of the berry bush shine with a special light, and I look at my arms, and they are bronze and golden, or they are as bronze and golden as the bush that gives good things. I run back into the house and tell Daddy, "Daddy, Daddy, yellow is a good color, rich in bronze and giving, like me." She actually looks like the minister I stayed with. It's almost as if they drew her as a little girl. Like that's basically like a clone image. She looks like how she looked as a little girl to me. But I think it's interesting how the first lines of this poem is, "Daddy, tell me this. Is yellow a good color?" Because every time you hear about yellow in regards to colorism, it's like she was a high yellow. Oh, you think you cute because you light skinned and all of that. And I'm just like, well, dang, I'm sorry. They were just born light skinned. They were just born light skinned. I really don't have a problem with light skin at all. I don't have a problem with dark skin. I just like the skin they're in. I like the skin that I'm in. I don't feel like changing it. But when it comes to like light-skinned people, it's always like light-skinned people and dark-skinned people, like this spectrum of you're either this way or you're that way, and it's just been never ending for centuries. For centuries. And even in this modern age, like, people will be fixated on either one, if that makes any sense. Even in the modeling industry, they'll have like super, super dark or super, super light. But from what I've noticed, like if they have a dark skinned woman, it should be like super dark. And that's beautiful. Because I think you can see the makeup better on her skin for real. But like, I can't imagine as a light skinned person and I'm not light skinned, but I can't imagine being a light skinned person and somebody already thinks I'm pompous because I'm light skinned. Or they think I'm like better than them, or that I think I'm better than them because I'm light skinned. And I've only noticed this just from being around light skinned people and watching how people treat them. I know a woman who's very, very light skinned, and they just make so many assumptions about her just because she's light skinned. And the same goes for dark skin. It's just very, very sad. So I'm sure this little girl in this book she's been exposed to a complex, because why would you say, "Is yellow a good color?" That must mean she must have been called, "Oh, you think you're better than me because you're light," or "You're a high yellow." You gotta stop all that. That's why you have stories where it's like the tragic mulatto, like, it's ridiculous, but it's still going. Of course, there are like YouTube channels that talk about colorism. Um, most of them are from Black women, and then the ones I haven't seen from Black women are maybe like I've seen like Asian women talk about it. Different Asians, like one's from India, one's from China, Japan, all of that. So it's very interesting. Next. Cranberry red. This reminds me of the children I used to babysit for when I was in my 20s. Mainly because of the words of the poem. But it's this little boy and I guess his mother. And he has red hair. It's cranberry red. My skin is red and my hair is red. He's redder than a cranberry, they said, when I was born. Why am I red? Maybe it's because I like cranberry sauce. With holiday dinners. Expecting me, Mama ate it every day. Maybe it's my Irish ancestors who reddened the Africa in my face. I don't know. My father's side of the family has hair as crinkly and red as mine. When we measure who we are, we don't leave anybody out. We count who we are and add all who came before us. The way we figure it, we're just great. I say this poem reminds me of the children I used to babysit for. The dad, I thought he was a white man when I first saw him. I thought he was a white dude with cornrows. But if I looked at him now at this age, I'd probably know it better. Just because I've had more exposure to different people and different skin tones. But he was actually biracial. He was like black and Irish. And he ended up marrying this white lady. And they had, would it be biracial kids or would it be multiracial kids? I want to say multiracial children. And all of these children looked different. And one of the children had bright, flaming red hair. And very, very pale skin. But the sad part was, one of the children was verbally abused by the father. And the father would always call him either the N-word or talk about his skin tone and various things. Because the father had a complex of his own. The father hated his own skin. He hated his own self. That's why in this poem, when the boy says, when we measure who we are, we don't leave anybody out. We count who we are and add all who came before us. A lot of people in America, especially if they're black, they might have some type of mixed ancestry behind. Like, you can't undo your ancestry. I'm sorry. Like, you might have another person that you just don't want in your family, and they're part of your lineage, and there's really nothing you can do about that. Like, it just happened. That's how life happened. And you don't have to accept them if you don't want to, but you can't just deny a part of, just ignore it. Like, oh, it wasn't even there. That's not how that goes. Like, on my father's side, my great-grandmother was white. Her side of the family were from Italy. They all came from Italy at the turn of the century, came to Rosati Phelps, Missouri, and then somehow ended up in St. Louis. And she married a black man because at that time, I guess Italians hadn't been, I literally don't know if this is the right word, homogenized. Is that the right word? Or they hadn't been incorporated into like full whiteness as of yet. Like, they're still seen like, you're Italian, go over there. But I don't ignore that side. Like, I know they exist. They're still part of my ancestry. Even if I don't like them or even if they were racist, I'm not going to just be like, oh, they didn't exist. Well, how did I get here then? How did I get here? We just have to take things as they are sometimes. And just remember to love ourselves. Or else we end up with a complex. Like, that's just how it is. If God wanted you to look different, God would have made you look the way God wanted you to look. So apparently, that's how you look now. Because God wanted it that way. Every time we try to change what God has made, we end up messing ourselves up. I can't tell you how many times I have seen people trying to change their skin color or their hair texture. If it's skin color, they're usually not from the US, I've noticed. I've noticed more like changing their hair texture, but like the ones I have seen that have bleached their skin look crazy. People go out on their way to bleach their skin. People go out of the way to darken their skin. Just love the skin you're in. Because when you try to go to those great lengths to change it, you're going to mess yourself up. You're going to hurt yourself. There was a white lady who, I guess she got injections or something to get darker. She looks crazy. She looks absolutely insane. There's a girl from Cameroon that has a bleaching cream called, I want to say it's called Whitenicious. Then you got Vibes Cartel, you know, Free World Boss. He went from dark to like, I don't know what color he is. Now, on the photos, they don't look too, I mean, they look crazy, but it's not as crazy as when you see them in real life. Something about it doesn't look right when you see it in person. So if you have somebody in your family that you just don't want in there, just know that time heals all wounds. And you are you. And you are supposed to look like how you are supposed to look. Whether you have dark skin or light skin or anything in between, it's okay. God wanted you to look that way. So you're perfect as you are. This page is so freaking beautiful. Like, look at this. In fact, this little girl in this illustration looks like this child model. I want to say she's from Africa, but it's this little girl with an umbrella. Oh, she's so beautiful. Oh my God. It's called Skin Deep. Beauty's only skin deep. Yeah. No. What did Grandma see when she first looked in the mirror? Dear heart, she says, I gave you my soul in whatever color you're wearing now. Is skin a dress that's put on and changed from life to life? You remind me of my mother a long time ago, she says, studying my beauty mark, her wrinkled hand holding my chin. Put yourself in someone else's skin. And I look into my own hazel eyes in the mirror and see those sweet old folks at the age I am now. My great-grandma's raspberry color, my grandma's blackberry cheek, my mama's mulberry mouth. This poem was very deep. It says, Dear heart, I gave you my soul in whatever color you're wearing now. And that's what I just got through saying. You have to love yourself as you are. If you were supposed to be a different skin tone, you would have been that skin tone. But God didn't want it that way. And sometimes skin tones, eye color, hair texture, it'll skip a generation. Like, for example, my cousin, she has kind of like auburn, brownish hair, but her eyes are brown. Her husband's eyes are dark brown, but she had her first baby, had hazel eyes, I guess like his grandfather. And then her second baby had like red hair, like I guess my grandmother's sister. Then my father, his mother, like I said, was biracial. All of her children were light-skinned, or at least the ones I know of. But their dad's was dark-skinned. But they all turned out light. It just skipped. And then even my hair. I got my dad's hair. And apparently it was black. He's like, where did you get that black hair? That was one of our last conversations. And I said, I thought your hair was black. He's like, no, my hair is brown. Genetics. Is skin a dress that's put on and changed from life to life? Depends on who you ask. If you believe in past life regression, you'll have different avatars in different lifetimes. One lifetime you might be a man, another lifetime you might be a woman, another lifetime you might be a tree. It really depends. Sounds like reincarnation. You know, you playing different roles in different forms. And I think it's just a very beautiful poem. Because the children, the ancestors do come back through the children. Like my cousin's son, her first baby, he'll make facial expressions like my granny. And her second baby also makes facial expressions like my granny. Like they both make facial expressions just like my grandmother. It's just like, what is going on? Then this one I love because she just looks like an elegant swan. I don't know if this is a child or an adult. I can't really tell. I think it may be a child, but I don't know. Nightshade. I feel as purple as the nightshade of an eggplant, that great berry among berries, smooth-skinned, and as stained and sweet as my fingers after rinsing boysenberries. And now I'm going to show you like 2 more pages. I love this poem, especially these flowers in her hair. I need that as a poster too. Snowberries. And this child I remembered because she was the lightest out of all of them. So she just was like the stark contrast to all of these other colors. Just like the darker ones were a stark contrast to all of the other shades. And also because she looked like somebody I knew as a child. This is her. Very light with reddish hair. I look white. It's called Snowberries. I look white. I am as light as snowberries in fall. I walk that walk. I talk that talk. Yet still some say, you're not really black. The words cut deep down, beyond the bone, beneath my snowy skin, deep down where no one can see. I bleed the one drop of blood that makes black me. And I want to be as black as midnight and moonless water, so no words can wound me. Still I'm thankful for all the blood drops I got. In my mind, even one drop's a lot. That is so sad. Just so sad. I don't know if the little girl is biracial. I don't know if she's non-biracial, if she's just like black. Because sometimes you'll have people telling people that they're biracial and both of their parents are black. Like, they're not, biracial. One example would be like Vanessa Williams. Or like, she's mixed. No, both of her parents are black. I think the same with Misty Copeland. They thought she was mixed too. But it's just very sad how people's complexes will harm children. They'll either make them seem more mature than they actually are, or they'll make them a target. Personally, just from working with children and watching how people interact with children, I feel like if the child is very dark or is very light, they're target of negativity that could actually bring them physical harm. Like they're sexualized in, I'm just saying like this, I don't mean, but they are actually sexualized in a way by some people. Like, they'll either try to make them seem more mature than they are, or more experienced than they are based on their skin tone, or you'll have people waiting for them to get older to prey upon them. It's just a very, very scary, sad world. Even how they're treated. Either they'll have preferential treatment or they'll just be cast to the side. And it could go for both parties. Because some people will assume like, oh, if she's dark skinned, she's going to be treated like crap. Not necessarily. She might get preferential treatment, and the one that's lighter skinned might get the other treatment. It can switch all the time because we're stuck in this mindset. We're obsessed with skin. We're obsessed with color. We're obsessed with hair texture. We're trying to force ourselves into molds that we weren't born into, and wonder why our children are harming themselves. And it's sad because she says, and I want to be as black as midnight in moonless water, so no words can wound me. I remember talking to a handful of like racially mixed people who were lighter skinned, and they were telling me about the issues that they had, like people preying upon them because they fit a beauty standard, or people making assumptions about them because of their skin tone. Me, as you can see, I'm not light-skinned. I just get usually judged by my hair or my face, or people might think I'm foreign. I've had both sides, of whether it be Africans or African Americans, make strange comments. Like if it's an African American, they'll be like, but your hair, it's not like black people hair. What does black people hair look like? What does black people hair look like? If you look, for example, at different groups in Africa, you'll have one group that might have very, very kinky hair. You'll have another group whose hair is bone straight. And both groups will be living in the same country. They'll be the same country. But they're black. You have black people in the United States who have kinky hair or tightly coiled hair. Some that's wavy, some that's bone straight. Are they mixed too? I've had them say, well, I mean, you can't be black. You're pretty. And this is coming from black people. I've had black guys come up to me thinking I was something else. And when they find out I'm African American, they stop mid-sentence and walk away. That's crazy to me. I've had Africans from different parts of Africa say, well, you don't look like other black people. I mean, you're pretty. What is that supposed to mean? What is that supposed to mean? I love how in this book, she so tactfully and classily, if classily is an actual word, can weave in compliments, glorifying the beauty of the shade, but also addressing the issues that come with each shade. And she just did it so beautifully. It was so seamless in this book. And Floyd Cooper's artwork next to the words just amplified the meaning of the words. He really captured the spirit of the poem. My very favorite picture in this book is the very last picture. I need this as a poster. I need this page as a poster. It has all of the children. Look at them. So gorgeous. Oh my God. All the different shades. Dark brown, light, tan, all the shades of brown. All the different eye colors, all the different hair textures. And it ends with this poem called Color Struck. And it's funny because color struck in itself would be like a negative term. But once again, she switches it around to make it something really beautiful. And it goes, color struck. Our hair is curly black, braided brown and wavy red. Our lips are as luscious as ripe berries, as slim as a painter's thin line, and as generous as plump plums. We are color struck, the way an artist strikes his canvas with his brush of many hues. Look closely at these mirrors, these palettes of skin. Each color is rich in its own right. We come in all shades, night, sun-bright, color-thick, color-slight, color-struck. Oh, such a gorgeous poem. I'm sorry. That is such a gorgeous poem. How did she do that? How did she flip the script on you? Not you, but on them. She flipped the script on them. Like, girl, look at you. See, that's why you got all those awards while you're still alive. Rest in peace. I pay homage to you. Thank you for coming to this earth to write this book. If this was the only book you ever wrote, terrific. This is water, by the way, because I'm trying to be healthy and let my skin glow through my skin. Let's go over this poem before I end this video. It says, I want to focus on the lips. Our lips are as luscious as ripe berries, as slim as a painter's thin line. Some people, and this isn't, I'm just saying this, it's just my people. I'm not saying something. I actually mean my people. I'm just trying to be nice. They'll be like, I need, how a black girl's body is, like the thick lips and the thick this, and we're not all thick. Do you see my wrist? Do you see my little chicken arm? Do I look thick to you? I am slender. We have this archetype of black woman or black person. We just think it's all big lips. We just think it's all like just thick everything. But you look at different groups in Africa and different groups of black people all over the world. They look so different. You have some with thin lips. You have some with big lips. You have some with wide noses. You have some with slender noses. We don't all look the same. This beauty is not set in stone. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Blackness is in the eye of the beholder. I guess, within our community. You can't just classify us all under one umbrella. We are color struck. If I just took that line alone, I'd be like, yeah, we are color struck. But I would say it in a bad way. But she flips it and says, the way an artist strikes his canvas with his brush of many hues. So the artist in this case is God, as I mentioned earlier. God. God is not a boring, I guess, energy. If God was a boring energy, we would just have one thing of everything. We wouldn't have all of these different flowers. We wouldn't have all of these different mountains, all of these different skin tones or shades of brown and all of that, or different curl patterns or straight wavy curl tightly coiled. We wouldn't have all of that. We wouldn't have a rainbow if God was boring. His canvas with brush of many hues. Each of these children is a painting. Each of these children is a piece of God's work. Look closely at these mirrors, these palettes of skin. Each color is rich in its own right. We come in all shades. Night, sun bright, color thick, color slight, color struck. I give this 5. If I could give this 10 fudge buckets, I would give it 10 fudge buckets. In fact, let me just flip the script and for this one time give a 10 fudge buckets because that was amazing. But anyway, if you are a person that's worried about your skin tone, whether you're pale as a piece of paper or black as the universe or the screen of my phone, you're beautiful. There's nothing wrong with you. Freckles, vitiligo, albinism, there's nothing wrong with you. You have to look at yourself as the masterpiece that God has created. You are the only you with your exact DNA in this world, with your exact soul and your exact skin tone that fits you. Don't be ashamed of your skin. Don't be ashamed of your hair. I've gotten to a point in my life where I'm good with my skin. I've had people in my past try to make me hate my skin, but it never worked because I accept myself as I am. And you should accept yourself as you are. One of the things I would say is look in the mirror every day and just admire the color of your skin. Just look at it. Look at all of the colors that are within the skin. Like when I look at my skin, I don't just see brown. I see parts of red. I see parts of yellow, parts of orange, mahogany. I see beauty in my skin. And take care of it. Drink your water. Do your honey mask. Look up images of people with your skin tone, models or different groups of people so that you can have pride in how you look. Don't be ashamed. Don't try to hide your skin because of what other people think. Don't let people project their assumptions about you based off of your skin tone onto you. You don't have to be the poster child of a stigma. You don't have to be a forced archetype. You can break away from their assumptions and just choose to ignore it and focus on appreciating the masterpiece that God created as your covering. So thank you everyone for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed the book. I highly recommend this book, especially if you have children of color who are just like need books that have people that look like them, or children that are dealing with acceptance of their skin tone. I really recommend this book. It is a classic. It is amazing. So thank you everyone and have a nice evening.